Long-term solutions for the Newmarket schools. The goal of this is phased construction and renovation of the new building that supports the long-range facilities plan needed to support the school department for its long-range planned use and curriculum of the facilities. The topics that we're going to cover are the building facts and the elementary school facts, as provided us by the evaluation of the existing facilities by Team Design, the building code in reference, fire and life safety points, and then the high school and elementary school proposal. The high school building facts are as follows. In 2004, an engineering overview by Team Design was completed. In that evaluation, they called out that the new boiler was installed in 1997 with a life expectancy of 25 to 30 years. Second, it can support renovation or addition. And then third, the air handlers are in need of replacement. So back in 2004, we knew that there was a problem with the heating system. Recent issues that have come to light include issues with the existing boiler in far as problems with the oil tank, and it looked like to me, like on the pictures that were provided by Mr. French, there was a potential, maybe some glycol that caused some gaskets to corrode, and that's what's causing the leaking and rusting that you saw in the pictures that he provided us at the last meeting. Then it also called out in 1998 the new Johnson controls, which essentially are low voltage control systems for the heating of the building, were installed. The electrical inside the building is oversized in that only 600 amps are provided from the street, but the building can handle 800 amp total. Next was the propane gas lines to the kitchen and the sign slabs that they called out needed to be replaced, which I'm assuming at this point were probably already replaced with previous renovations. The cafeteria in the kitchen is undersized, and in this is also addressed in my proposal. Then the last, which is the biggest, which is the reason why we're here, is the Department of Education standards for educational space. According to Harriman, on his latest proposal, or not his proposal, but his floor plan he provided us prior to the election, in which he wanted to draw out in different colors the spaces in the existing building that were undersized. Well, the color code was essentially 40% of the existing building does not meet standards programmed. And again, these are as programmed. This doesn't represent what they could be if they were utilized for a different purpose, such as a different class grade. There was 900 square feet was the number they wanted to put in there, where it was only 800 square feet in size. So needless to say, out of total everything, all the spaces that were impacted by the undersized program space was roughly 34,000 square feet. And in this number, this represents 40% of the total high school building square footage, which was roughly 85,000 square feet. So this also includes a percentage of the large gym that's existing. Here is a structural final assessment of the high school as it stands today. And essentially, I'll draw your attention to the bottom, in which it says the additions should be structurally independent, which is what we've done. And it also, as you read into this paragraph, it also calls out that the building is actually in good shape with some minor cracking. And through my experience, I've come to realize that the old-timers knew how to build. So that the wooden buildings that are standing today that were pre-60 or early 60s are in good shape. It's the ones that are newer in between the 60s and the early 80s where we were changing materials. And the materials were actually the flaw. Wasn't how we constructed it. So at the elementary school, in that same assessment from Team Design, it calls out when the building was built in 1987, and it calls out that the boiler needs replacement. Also that our electrical infrastructure is fine, and we're only utilizing 25 or 24% of available capacity, which means we have more to grow. Building security is poor, especially what has happened in the past year or two. Security should be a priority, especially with our younger populations, the most vulnerable. And then I want to address the 4 trailers that house classrooms and teaching spaces where the kids have to go outside. Let's get them all under one roof. Here, what I've highlighted are basic building code sections. One handles additions. If you build onto the existing, you can no less constructed in such a fashion that the addition are no less conforming with the provisions of this code than the existing building or structure was prior to the addition. Because there's a lot of talk out there about being code compliant. The buildings, if they were assigned with a certificate of occupancy, are code compliant. Let's not confuse the two between life safety and the building code, which I think there's been a lot of. So as far as alterations go, which is section 3404, again, alterations shall be such that the existing building or structure is no less complying with the provisions of this code than the existing building or structure was prior to the alteration. So that means we can't leave it any worse than it is, and we can voluntarily make improvements to bring it into code compliance as it is today. The next issue that I wanted to address was the seismic requirements. And that's been a big word thrown around. And yes, the building as it stands today does not meet the 21st century seismic requirements. But as I showed out on the previous slides, that's not, if we don't touch it, it's fine. And again, throughout the report and the evaluation by both Harriman and Team Design, they called out that they couldn't make a determination as to the seismic compliance of the existing structures because of certain finishes that are on the wall that they can't see inside of it. So this is not as big as people think it is, because the building has withstood, as I said, it was built and it was compliant when it was constructed. And because we add on more requirements, it makes it more restrictive. And that's as we add more regulation. So essentially, if we take that train of thought and look at it going forward, the building that we build today, tomorrow may not comply if they add a new regulation, which doesn't make sense. So we work with what we have, improve it as we can, and evaluate as we go through this. After speaking with the fire chief on the phone, fire and life safety will be signed off as soon as the prescription as prescribed by the fire chief is completed. At that point, the entire building as it is today will be code compliant. And I believe we have 2 more sections remaining of the overall prescription to complete. The fire chief did draw to my attention that the only thing that's outstanding that we have to address at some point, and I know we are after listening to Harriman out on the presentation last week, is the ADA compliance issue. And again, if we can't meet the standards, this law allows you to modify it and to comply with the law with a modification, as long as it presents no health or safety risk. So this next photo shows, or this photo, it shows the existing high school, which is on the bottom right, and the Carpenter property up across the street. What I'm proposing to do is eliminate the parking on the school site as it is today. Then relocate parking across the street where the existing building is, that the storefronts are, and I believe the insurance company is over there as well. And then clear out the rest of the property as far as we deem acceptable, and just create fields over there, just an open field with no delineation of sport, just an open field that people can use as field day events or open space where it's mowed and maintained, that the soccer can set up a soccer field if they wish, the weekend kids on the different town programs, the rec programs, can also use this space. And just have it be open and not delineate it for any particular sport. So here it is at the high school, what I'm proposing. The 2 blocks that you see in yellow and green, one represents the new addition, which is roughly a 30,000 square foot addition, which will overlap where the existing parking lot is on the right. And the green block represents the old gymnasium, and that's the area that I want to convert into a theater. Each floor was roughly 11,000 square feet. It's roughly 150 feet long by 75 feet wide, and essentially a 75-foot hallway in the middle. And what I utilized, because of the grading at the existing high school, is I've created a walkout basement situation. But I'm not proposing having no windows on any of the art rooms or classrooms. I'm expecting to put in there window wells, set of stairs, an inverted set of stairs to get people out, as a supplementary set of egresses, which will be addressed by an architect. And then at the far end of the building, where the hallway exits into the lower area where the existing parking lot is now, at the end of the building where the woodworking shop is to have a larger set of doors which would slide out. And then also there would be a secondary set of stairs on the exterior of the building to go up onto the different floors. So essentially what you're going to have when you're looking at this, on the first, and you're looking at, again, this is level 1 or the basement. As we go up, you'll see how I access the existing buildings. So in this space, you have a mechanical room, and again, the mechanicals are going to be able to support the existing building, this new building, and take some of the load off of the existing building by assuming some of the responsibility of carrying, heating and cooling that space. As well as I have an elevator on this floor plan I want to draw your attention to. And I've located in such an area that it's relatively close to of access for the classrooms. As you can see, we have a chem lab located down here, family or consumer science center, woodworking, and art. Now the art, nothing is etched in stone. This is only a proposal. But the art room I'm calling right now is only 900 square feet, which should be larger. I agree. So we can take a little bit from the woodworking area or whatever, mix and match. But again, all the messy stuff is in the basement. The chem lab's messy, or with the chemicals. An art room's messy by nature. People dropping paints, and the woodworking. Level 2, or the first floor, which would be the first floor even to match the existing, is connected to the existing building via covered walkway. And there'd have to be some engineering looked at, because I know there's a stairway on the existing on the other side. Again, you have your elevators in your hallway, and what you have over here is you have a science wing, or your science lab. It's proximal to the main office, so the upperclassmen will be able to be monitored, because I know that's an issue with the elementary kids going in through the and mixing in with the high school kids. But also you have a facility that you have 5 laboratories on the first floor, and you have one 900 square foot classroom. It could be utilized as any space that you want to utilize it as, or even a nurse's station if you wanted to. But I have it set up as a classroom. It's called classroom number 1. Level 3, or the second floor, shows 9 classrooms. 9 900 square foot classrooms with a hallway that is large enough to put lockers in, with an elevator, with a covered walkway. Now, I want to point out that I did get a lot of help from Paul LeBone putting these together. He took my sketch and he put it into an architectural presentation. He's the best. So here's my classroom comparison, existing versus requirements at the high school. On the left in blue, you're going to see all the requirements of the existing building. Not the requirements, but the existing classroom counts, as taken from the drawings for the ad rental. On the right-hand side, you see what's required. So as you can see, we have 900 square foot classrooms that we don't have any of. And we have 14 800 square foot classrooms, which 800 square foot classroom satisfies the high school's requirements for class sizes. So the total square foot for the existing is 18,700 square feet. And then for the new, or the new requirements, is 20,200 square feet. So the total at the new building at the high school, for its total classroom count after the ad rentals and the construction of the new building, would be 10 classrooms at 900 square feet. You'd have 5 science labs at 1,400 square feet, an art room, chem lab or home ec room, a woodworking shop, an elevator, storage rooms, mechanical rooms, and bathrooms, for a total new space of 33,750 square feet, or 11,250 square feet per floor. When you look at the entire building after you're completed with the construction, you will have a balance of classrooms that don't meet any uses as we currently have. They don't meet the 800 square foot classroom size, and they don't meet the 900 square foot that we need. But we've addressed those already. We've added 10 classrooms to the new building, and we've repurposed 14 classrooms at 800 square feet. But you still have 4 classrooms at 750, 5 at 700, 2 at 500. So essentially you have a bunch of space that you're not sure what to use for. So I've budgeted monies in the proposal that would carry you to construct those classrooms or to modify those classrooms to meet the classroom sizes that you needed for support space or whatever you needed for meeting space. So space is now utilized as classrooms to be repurposed as support spaces, i.e. resource rooms, meeting rooms, etc. And if you notice on the very bottom, I've added a theater in here, and I'm going to show you how I got that. In the renovation of the original gym, we converted that space into 2 science labs and the media room and a library. What I'm proposing is removing those. We can repurpose a lot of the equipment and the furniture within the science labs because I believe that's how we paid for it. And according to the Harriman, he said that the structural space seems like it's acceptable. If it's truly acceptable, then what I'm proposing is to remove those classrooms and relocating them, A, to the new building that we're constructing now where we have supplementary labs, but also relocating the media center and the library to the front of the building because we've evacuated space now. The art room is now in the new building, and the classroom that's over there as well in the old building next to the art room is bring that over as well. So the whole strategy is to the rooms that are reassigned into the new building, what do we do with that space? We're going to reallocate that space for a different purpose. This is one of those spaces. We can also purchase telescopic theater seating, which is enough to house 250 people if we want, depending on the space that we have. And the company is out of Somersworth, New Hampshire. I believe for a telescopic theater setup such as this, with the arms, the table that flips up from the side, to turn it into a testing environment if we want, or a seminar part if we want, would be great for town meetings or even movie nights for the elderly to come and enjoy. This whole setup was only at $75,000. And it's a good food for thought. Maybe we can use this at the elementary school. So here's my budget for the high school. It's a total cost budget of $19 million and some change. So here's the breakout. It's 33,000 roughly new square footage at $8 million. And then there's the monies I put aside for renovation of those 18 classrooms or so. And roughly works out to be about $60,000 per classroom. An additional line item for life and safety improvements if we need to, because we're converting some of the old space and repurposing it. I have $1 million in there for door and window replacements on the exterior of the building. So that's $60,000 you don't get a hit on. We've already replaced the windows and the doors on the exterior of the building if needed. Then we have $1.3 million to address all of the mechanicals in the existing building and the new. So what that will allow us to do is to address this issue with the oil tank and also address the issue with the boiler and the air handlers, because remember from the drawings and the evaluations, it was the air handlers that we had the biggest problems with. Our recent problems with the oil and the water mixing is something that can be overcome. Then I have the next line item is cafeteria improvements. And in here what I'm proposing is renovating the complete kitchen as it is today. And there's a wall that separates the kitchen from a storage area. Utilizing that wall, A, to relocate and do the layout with as far as locating fire sensitive equipment, as far as like the friolators and things like that near a concrete wall, or just removing the concrete wall altogether. And that money is in there for the $1 million is to handle the renovation and buy new appliances for that kitchen. And then whatever money is left over, which should be a lot of money, is I'd like to rehab the existing space and include in that existing space, because we will relocate the existing dumpster and the walkout kitchen into that new storage space, and the dumpster would be out back, is to include in this monies like a 3-season room that we can call an upperclassman calf. Those kids have been through a lot, and they deserve to have their own space where they can sit and relax and talk amongst themselves, amongst their peers. Or we could utilize that space as a meeting room. Next line item is I have the buried pipe relocation. That infamous pipe that's buried underneath our parking lots, that according to the DPW Chief Mulaski, he said it can be removed and relocated by gravity feeding. So without looking at any drawings, I've budgeted $500,000. I believe the school already has an existing proposal to relocate that pipe with previous drawings. Then the next line item I have is for FF&E, which is the furniture, final and fit up of equipment, which is inclusive of computer system. What I'm proposing is, because our library isn't as big, and the libraries essentially are being phased out because of the computers. Our kids don't need physical books. The younger kids do. We need to touch the books and understand the Dewey Decimal System. However, most of our information is coming from the internet. So ramping up our computers and giving us the opportunity to provide all students with access to laptops or iPods or our tablets, to give them an opportunity to access these pieces from home or in school or from anywhere. They can log on to our servers and access all of our textbooks and all of the information that's provided on the internet to do their homework, and essentially convert from paper and pencil to computer environment where everything is sent electronically, and still have that component in the curriculum for the paper and pencil access parts. The next site work includes the parking lot across the street in this number of $2.1 million. Besides the site work on the existing site, I also wanted to carry the money for putting the parking lots across the street, and again levelizing the fields and turning those into just generic multi-purpose fields. And again, the parking that would be available at the high school would be visitor parking, handicap parking, and then limited facility and faculty. Now one of the points that I didn't touch on earlier is, where would the access be for the buses? What I'm proposing is to put a horseshoe across the front of the building, coming in where we are now, where the buses enter now, or where they exit. It's clearing it out, so there's across the front of the building as it stands on 152. There's a large strip of grass, roughly 50 to 60 feet wide. Is to put a 25-foot swath driveway right down the middle, and have it controlled so that buses could access it during certain times of the day, and without the problems of having cars located there either. Then I have in this number $2 million for soft costs, which is a high number. It represents more than 10% of the overall cost of the budget, which I know is a high number, but again, we've done a lot of the legwork already. And I think that some of this money can be utilized in a different line item to enhance some of the different things that aren't included in my scope. Lastly, I have $500,000, which I know is a high number, but I want to demo the existing class science labs, relocate the media centers, and again, convert the old gym into our new theater. And again, the total budget's $19,131,250. And that brings us to the Newmarket Elementary School. What I'm proposing here is to eliminate on the top left where you see the trailers, eliminating the trailers and including those into a new wing. Now, whether it's flipped where the trailers are, or we can put it on the open space that's used for phys ed, and when those trailers are eliminated, use that as open field for the facility for the phys ed program. What I'm proposing here is over where the trailers are. And again, like I said just now, whether it's on this side or on the other side of where the open field is on the far right, it doesn't matter. That's up to you. There are some advantages and disadvantages of each. One impacts the phys ed program. The other enhances the fact that we can add classrooms here that would allow us to put the preschool in this side of the building. Right now we're limiting enrollment into our preschool program because we don't have the adequate space. We can resolve that. This is what I'm proposing. We have 5 classrooms at 900 square feet. We're adding 2 bathrooms at 1,500 square feet. And here we're adding a gymnasium. But one of the thoughts I was thinking about throughout this whole process, instead of adding a gymnasium, we can give the existing phys ed program, the cafeteria that's existing now, give them that whole space. Add a new flooring to the system that matches already into the existing gym. And add a few, for minimal cost, do some cosmetic makeups to include it into the gym. Then add in that theater telescopic seating system that we proposed for the high school, and convert that whole area into a large multi-purpose, but primarily a gymnasium. Then relocate the cafeteria and the kitchen into the new wing. Therefore, we'd have a new kitchen where the kids could exit right onto the playground, opposed to having now the system that they have now where they have to walk through the building. But also, you can also have the little kids relocate into that new room as well and create more space on the other side of the room. But that's a programming issue. That's not what I'm addressing. But I'm giving you 12,000 new square feet. Here's how the budget breaks up. Excuse me. You got a 12,000 square foot addition for roughly $2.8 million. And then you have a $2 million budget to fix all of the mechanicals, which essentially is just the boiler, and replace it. And as well as if we have another issue with the oil tank underground. Then I have $1.5 million built in for site work, which I think may be a high number in itself. But again, relocating the building so that it's within proximity of the existing infrastructure as far as the water and sewer go. Then I've added new windows and security around the building. Now, as it stands now, I think the doors and windows for the most part are in good shape. I think the outstanding issue here is security. Security is very minimal at best. And I don't know what's been updated recently, but again, this is a number large enough to handle any items that we have or maybe want to have in the new environment. And then I have in here $1 million for computer infrastructure and hardware. And again, it's the same philosophy at the high school it is here. I know we need a library, but we really should be pushing the kids towards a computer literacy, and it allows us an opportunity to do that here. Teachers, instead of printing up on colored ink all the time, has been complaining to because of the cost, we give them every kid an iPod, an iTouch screen, or a laptop to work from and do their homework from. Now maybe we even allow the kids to take them home, as long as they have Wi-Fi access and the town provides them with that downtown. Maybe they have it within their own home. But again, we can have the teachers set up their software program or the homeworks right on their little tablet so that they can take them home and do them there. That's a great tool to have. So the overall cost of the elementary school is $8.6 million to a total amount of $27,750,250 for the whole scope of the work. Again, this is just a proposal for the first step. Then at some point here, the school department would facilitate a long-range plan as discussed at regular meetings. So you have a solution going forward that doesn't limit you as one large cost all at once. That's my construction timing. Again, this is all based on the premise that you do something now. Don't sit and wait until next year. Utilize the points that are having this proposal if you like them. Have somebody go out and estimate it for you. The numbers are driven from the cost figures that were provided to us by the schools, and as well as there was 4 or 5 other elementary school programs and high schools being built within a 50-mile radius of Newmarket. Prevailing wage in Newmarket is slightly higher than what is in Massachusetts as well. That's why the numbers in New Hampshire are slightly larger for school projects. But again, other states, they get 50% assistance for the construction, not for the site work, but for the construction of the new building. We don't have that here. We have to foot the bill all on our own wallets. So this proposal is only the first step in a long-term solution that allows the town to be able to afford the cost of a facility that is expected and needed for our kids for the 21st century. So here's our timing. So based on that, I'd start the high school and the elementary new construction as soon as possible, so that it's ready for the fall of 2015. That gives us over a year to get it done. And I'd also start site work at the Carpenters immediately, because you want people to no longer park at the high school. You want the young kids to park across the street. And as well as you can start utilizing those fields immediately and reaping some of the benefits of it. Phase 2 would happen after next year, during the summer, where you would start to focus on the interior renovation of the existing space and evaluate any space that you need to modify or change using that $60,000 classroom budget, to evaluate that with your curriculum and your programming, as well as attack the theater in the same summer, so they'll be ready for the fall of 2015. I have all the construction being completed by the fall of 2015. So from this, we're in February now, or excuse me, April now, April 2014. By the end of the beginning of fall of 2015, it will be complete. And then at that time there, at the end of the construction, prior to it, reevaluate Carpenter's Field to see what else you wanted to do over there as far as utilizing it for space for ball fields. Well, that concludes it. I hope this is another solution. This is a new beginning for another proposal, which is something which we haven't seen. It's just a limited scope of work, but it also provides you with an opportunity of this being the first step of a long-term solution.